much of what you learnt in school can you honestly say is currently contributing to your quality of life right now? Seriously, have you ever sat down and looked at how long you spent in whatever education you went through, not to mention what it may have cost, and thought about whether or not it's actually paying off in terms of the way your life looks and how happy you are? Because if you're anything like me and you spent that first 20 or so years of your life going through the motions of what you're supposed to do with your education, and then you maybe spend a few years being an adult, that it's not until you're 30 or 40 years in, or sometimes even later, before you sit back and think, is my life panning out the way I wanted it to? And we don't learn in school how to be healthy, how to be happy, how to manage our finances, or maybe start a business, and we certainly don't learn how to have great relationships. And then we're unleashed into the big bad world to figure all that stuff out. And we might meet some of those adult challenges and screw them up a bit before we sit down and think about whether or not we're actually happy, or maybe we go looking for new education like spirituality or personal growth, or read books to see if we can better serve ourselves. And it's not until that point that we might decide to change direction. But then how do you find the time to do that now that you're a grown up and you've got lives and you've got a job and a business, maybe your family and all these other responsibilities? It can be very hard to find the time to do that. So you might be wondering who the hell I am. Well, my name's Amy Taylor. I'm the founder of Your Wi-Fi Life. And if you're sitting here watching videos on social media, I'm guessing it's for one of two things: some sort of distraction or entertainment, or possibly looking for education. And that's kind of my point in shooting this video, is that if we choose to, we're surrounded by so much opportunity to re-educate ourselves, if we choose, in the day and age that we're living in. And if we're willing to embrace these new concepts and tools and technology, we really can choose to live our lives and create businesses and lifestyles in a very different way than we could even just 10 years ago. And I'll get back to that in a minute. But just to go back quickly to my experience of school and what I remember, it wasn't so much what I did or didn't learn, it was just a feeling I remember having every time I was in the classroom, which was, I don't want any of this, I'm not really interested in any of it, there's got to be something better out there. And I just wasn't engaged in the work I was doing. I didn't struggle, it wasn't a bad experience, my teachers and parents told me I was doing quite well, but I just didn't feel that it was for me. But you know, you're a child and at that point you don't really have an option, and you go through the motions and you're presented with the next step and the choices that you have to make to get to that next step. And that's kind of how it went. But that voice of there's something better out there kind of followed me through my whole education. I ended up going to university just because it's what you did. And then I came out of university and I'd get a job and I'd get very disillusioned and bored quite quickly. And after a couple of years, I'd switch jobs or change companies. But in between those jobs, I'd go and do a few months traveling because I just wanted to do that. That's all I wanted to do. And I can honestly say, as a side note, that I probably learned more when I was traveling about myself and about life than I had any time I was at school. But that's by the by. So this kind of carried on through my 20s, and it wasn't until I was turning 30 I got a massive wake-up call, and that came in the form of losing my uncle. And I absolutely idolised him. He was the only person in my family that had ever really done anything different. He'd built his own businesses his whole life, and he was just about to take his foot off the gas and enjoy his retirement. He was 63 and he was diagnosed with cancer. He lost his life in just 4 weeks, and I know I'm not alone in having experienced something like that. And apart from being devastated, all I kept thinking was, there really has got to be something better out there, because why would I work for the next 30 years? I'm almost halfway to how old he was, not to be able to get to enjoy that. So at that point I did start to re-educate myself, and all I really wanted to do was be able to pick up my laptop and have the freedom to work from anywhere. I was willing to work hard, and I still do, but I started looking at ways of building a business online and educating myself in entrepreneurship and passive income strategies, but I wanted to do it online so that I had that freedom. And I'll be honest, I got really disappointed and disillusioned very quickly, because there was a lot of crap out there that I spent my money on. Nothing really had any substance, and apart from anything else, there was just this overwhelming amount of information and opportunity available. And there are a number of ways that you can build businesses online that I now know. But eventually I stumbled across these two guys, and they were speaking more about getting the right foundation of education and skill sets to transition into what we call the digital economy. And they were talking about it from a perspective of positioning yourself to be able to go into any number of opportunities or business models, depending on what you're looking for, depending on what lifestyle you really want. So This sounded really interesting to me, and to cut a long story short, I got involved, and I cannot tell you how grateful I am that I did, because just 4 years later of the right education, not 24 years of education, just 4, my life has transformed. I got started when I was still working in my corporate job. I was doing 60-hour weeks, commuting to London. I was exhausted. I was going to the pub on a Friday night and spending a weekend in bed recovering. But I stopped doing all of that and I started educating myself. And 18 months with this education, after 18 months, I was able to walk away from that corporate job and really start enjoying my life again. I went traveling for a good 12 months, going to all different places and events with the community I'd become a part of. And last year I was actually able to take my mum on the most amazing bucket list trip to New York, which we'd always wanted to do. We flew business class, we stayed in amazing hotels, we went and saw Broadway shows, and we just had an amazing time. It was such a memory to create with my mum. And then last year I was able to spend 5 months in Thailand just because I felt like changing my environment. And this year, at the beginning of this year, I relocated to Australia, where I'm coming to you now from the gorgeous Gold Coast. And my life has never looked better. I'm really, really happy, healthy, and more than anything, I've had the time to figure out what I do want my life to look like, which I didn't have time to even think about that before, which is why it wasn't changing, funnily enough. So what I want to offer you today is the same education and an insight into this digital economy and how you can transition into it as well, with the same training that I got started with. It's delivered by my personal mentors, Stuart and Jay. And if you click the link on this video, it's going to take you through to a page where you can register your details to receive it. And along with that, I'm going to send you some of the resources that I've put together that have really helped me on my journey. And apart from anything else, you're going to be introduced to the most phenomenal community of individuals who are really making this stuff happen for themselves. There are people from all over the world, from all walks of life, that really, really do walk their talk. And some of them have become my lifelong friends. And I don't know about you, but I want more people like that in my life. So click the link, register your details, get involved with this education. It really is now. It's not just the future, but it will secure your future. And if you want to start living a more happier and fulfilled life, learning the skills to transition into the online world really does give you the power to share your message, share what you're passionate about, and give back and do something that really does matter. I now get to coach other people and deliver what I know from the stage at events all over the world. It's absolutely amazing. It's really fulfilling, and I can honestly say that my life has never been happier. So click the link, get registered, and I really look forward to seeing you on the other side to help you start building your Wi-Fi life. Take care.